So this is going to be the third in our series of 4 cityscapes in ink. And this one is going to be a little bit different from the first 2 if you followed along with those, the London scene and the Brooklyn Bridge. I've got here a nighttime street scene from Istanbul in Turkey. And I thought it would be interesting, useful hopefully, to do a nighttime scene and to address some of the challenges that poses. Hopefully they aren't going to be too much of a challenge because we're using a black pen. And that's going to give you some obvious advantages compared to doing a scene like this in graphite or charcoal. Now, on the face of things, this scene probably doesn't look any more complicated than the first scene that we did of London and Big Ben. But centimetre by centimetre, there is a lot more information in this one than there is certainly in the 2 that we've done previously. And you could spend upwards of 5, 6, 7 hours maybe, if you're going to use the same style as we did the first 2 in, to complete this drawing in ink. A lot of detail to contend with. Now that's fine if you want to take that approach. I think you'll end up with a really nice drawing, but just bear in mind that you're going to have to be patient. It's going to take some time. What I thought I'd do through this lesson is to give you a different stylistic approach and one that really plays down the amount of detail. So what that's going to allow you to do is tackle a subject like this much more quickly. Maybe for those of you that don't have the time or the patience to tackle something that is really complicated and really detailed, this gives you another option without having to avoid those really intricate scenes. Now, if you've seen the ink portraits drawing course, one of the lessons that you remember from that course was the older gentleman, where we really increased the tonal contrast. So what this did was it melded a lot of similar tones or values together into one block, and it really helped to reduce the detail. And that meant that we could then approach the subject more quickly and with a lot less concern for fine details and differences between values. So we're going to take the same approach with this one. So this is the original colour reference photograph. And what I did was I made that black and white and increased the contrast ever so slightly. And it was ever so slightly by about 2 or 3% on this particular image. So if I bring the original image back in, there are some subtle changes in value on some of the jackets on the backs of the chairs. This lady's hair, there's a highlight you can see on the gentleman as well. Some subtle details in there that you would probably try and capture if you were doing your pen drawing. When I increase the contrast, those have been lost. So you've now got a much larger or much bigger areas of black tone, black value that are all in one solid block. Taking that a step further, I increased the contrast again only by a fraction, by about another 1 or 2%, so a total of about 5%. And you can do this on any graphic software, by the way. We'll put a little tutorial up within the course materials if you're not sure how to do that. Very, very easy to do. So I increased from this one the contrast up again very, very slightly. And what I ended up with was this. So now we're almost approaching the point where it's gone too far. You can't really make out that these are figures. This has just almost become an abstract block of value. You can make out these figures here, but what it's done is it's taken a lot of the detail. Let's bring that one back in. You see a lot of the detail and intricacy in the architecture around here that would take a lot of time to render in ink. It's taken all of that out. So we've gone from this to this. So I think there are some areas in here that I'm going to try and emulate that are preferable, that are going to save me a lot of time. But I think there are other areas where it's going to lose the effect and the focal point that we're looking for. I think these figures, this group of figures here, are going to be our focal point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work from a combination of both of these references. I'm going to use this one for the foreground, right-hand side foreground detail and the figures. They're still shadowy, but there's enough of a silhouette for us to make out what they are. I'm going to use this one to deal with this area, the left-hand side, because it really simplifies the whole image and the detail within the architecture.